Today's question, I really like this one. Is knowledge inherently valuable, or must it have a practical application to be considered of value? Huh. That's interesting. I have been a smart aleck throughout pretty much my entire life, and in many ways I still am. I have really patted myself on the back throughout so much of my life for how smart I was. In some ways, I was, conditioned by my environment. When I was in elementary school, I was what's called a TAG student, and that is called talented and gifted. And so I got to take these special interest classes and could get out of classes that I was being taught because I was, not challenged enough by them. So I'd go to the special smart kid class. I got to sit at this little convention, or I don't know what you'd call it, conference in my middle school, elementary school, library, where I was put on display, and this, dead serious, this was put on the news and in the paper that I was a gleaming example of a kid with great literacy abilities at this school that was kind of below average in education, or maybe just average, I'm not sure. But I was above average, so that's so cringy to think about now that I was just considered this. And what's funny is that as a kid, I don't know, I didn't really I didn't process any of this. I'm just like, yep, this is cool. Everybody treated me special, and but I didn't let it really build up my ego that much. I didn't realize maybe. But it definitely set the course for how I developed to value knowledge so much. And not value knowledge as just like a life principle or anything. Value knowledge as life value. I went to a math and science school. I transferred out of that elementary school, finished up at this elementary school. It was also a middle school, so was there from 4th grade through 8th grade. And I wasn't special anymore. I was just very, very average intelligence. And I was in classes with people that were way, way smarter than me in just about any given subject. And started to really feel terrible about myself in a lot of ways because, this school valued intelligence. It valued knowledge, intelligence. I'm not going to try to make some sort of... It valued knowing things. It valued having accurate ideas about things. And there were people in the class that purported and often did, have more intelligence than I did. And, I've realized I'm from two very smart families. We're all very sharp people in the conventionally accepted intelligence way. I'm no genius. My IQ would not be genius caliber. I am no Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. My point through all this is that it hasn't made me a better person. Doesn't rise me above anybody. Value is completely subjective and arbitrary, and it's just kind of a made-up, silly thing. We're all just as equally as valuable as each other, no matter how much smarts or dumbs we have. I was talking to my friend recently. He's a really, really perceptive person, and I asked him to do a really thorough psychoanalysis on me, his full take on me. He got a lot of great things to say. He started it with well, I like you, Joe. And I was like, oh, thanks. You didn't have to start it that way. I appreciate it. One of the things he said, though, was, I think that you're a really good example of more intelligence does not equate to more happiness. Yeah, sure doesn't. Sure doesn't. A lot of the times intelligence can directly sap happiness, depending on, how you approach it. In some ways, intelligence and knowledge, they put you more in touch with everything that stinks about the world. Blissful ignorance is a very real thing. Or blissful, you can call ignorance I don't know, but then blissful choosing to ignore is a very, very real thing. Choosing to look away from. Yeah. And I like what David Foster Wallace said. It's like, if you worship your intellect and being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid in constant fear of being found out. Yeah. Let me tell you, I have worshipped intellect in a lot of ways. And it has... I'm working through it every single time that I sit down and do one of these videos. But yeah, I worry that I'm coming across as just really, really stupid all the time. Wow, I feel like I hardly even touched on the actual question. Where that gets into all this is that I feel a lack of self-worth even with all the knowledge that I have. I feel like I have a solid amount of knowledge, and it hasn't equated to me making the difference in the world that I would like to. Hasn't equated to me following my life purpose as much as I would like to. So I don't think that having more knowledge is inherently, useful. But it certainly can be used. It's a great fuel for making some kind of change, making some kind of impact, doing something awesome. But it's like, it still requires. Like, if it's fuel in the car, it's like you still got to put your foot on the gas. You still got to drive that intellect. And there are plenty of people that are not smart that have accomplished amazing things in this world. Just like it's not totally necessary either. I think it's really important that we just take delight in learning and not in being smarter. The act of learning, the process. Acknowledge it is an ongoing process that will be going throughout your entire life. Learning. You're never at a point where you've learned enough and you can just stop. And hey, it's fun learning. I know that public school totally ruined it for all of us, but learning is a good old time. And so I think, especially if you're learning about things that actually match your interests, yes, knowledge is inherently useful. Fine. It's inherently useful in making you feel good. Let's keep learning, baby. I'm going to go watch Reading Rainbow.